Hi guys, it's Krista here, and I am continuing the series 10 Tips, 10 Days with Networking. I can't believe it is already day number 9. If you've been following my tips, you should be in a good spot to at least start networking, and I welcome you to reach out and DM me and get in touch with me if you run into any difficulties implementing the tips that I've given you, or you just have more questions, or you just want to tell me how well it went. So don't be a stranger. Message me anytime. And I take a lot of time out of my schedule to respond individually to people. So if I don't respond to you right away, then don't worry, I'll try to get back to you sooner or later. So go ahead and do it. I really, really appreciate every single comment. But all those tips I've given you are forsaken if you don't follow up the right way. So that's tip number 9, is to teach you when, how, and everything about following up. After the networking event, when is a good time? So I actually like to use the personalized invitation feature of LinkedIn to send out a message really quickly within the first week after I met that person. And in the personalized invite, I say, it was great meeting you at this event, this conference, this whatever. And I enjoyed our conversation about whatever we spoke about. And I would love to follow up with you and stay in touch to continue the conversation, to get to know you better, to find out more about your services, to invite you onto my podcast, to talk more about your podcast, or whatever. And if you do that within the first week, you're accomplishing a lot. First of all, you're keeping yourself on their radar so that they don't forget about you. Number 2, you're putting yourself into context, because then in their memory, they'll be like, oh, I remember that conversation with her. So if you don't put any personalized invite, then imagine at an event or a conference, even worse, we meet hundreds of people within a short period of time. And I might be thinking, oh my goodness, I think I remember meeting that person, but I'm blanking out what was it about. So by putting the information into the invite, you're setting up the tone for a good, positive reply. And doing it quickly is important, because a month later, the person doesn't recall, okay? I hate to say this, but like I said, if you're meeting so many different people, it's really hard to keep track. So do it right away, guys. That's part of networking, is the homework portion. So, and I think the last sentence is really gold, is why do you want to continue meeting with them or following up with them? And you can make it as aggressive or as relaxed as you want. So aggressive would be like, here's the link to my scheduling calendar. Let's set up a time for a 30-minute chat, a podcast interview, a free consultation, whatever you want, but put it in there so that they know what your intentions are. If you just send out a message, nice to meet you, that's not good enough. You really want to say what the next steps are in the relationship to keep the momentum going, because what's going to happen a month from now is that person's going to attend more events and they're going to meet more people, and you're going to get pushed way down on their list. So I really highly recommend that you try to keep the momentum going, but don't be too aggressive. In 2 weeks' time, if they have not responded, it's acceptable to send one follow-up email saying, hey, remember me from whatever conference, event? I just want to make sure you got my last message. I'd really love to follow up and interview you for my podcast, or invite you to coffee, or set up a very short chat with you to hear more about your services, whatever it is. But here's the thing, guys, don't send out more than 2 requests, because The first time, a person can easily miss your request for multiple reasons. Their inbox may be overwhelmed with new requests, whatever. The second time, it's very unlikely that they missed it. So don't send out anything a third time. For whatever reason, 2 messages they haven't answered, there must be something going on that they're not ready to answer you. Does that mean that they never ever want to hear from you again? It depends. Sometimes someone is in a very busy moment and they're just kind of like, yeah, I want to meet with that person, but not now. I don't want to have that conversation right now. And it's their lack of due diligence not to respond and tell you that. I always like to tell people a really quick follow-up, like, hey, I enjoyed meeting with you too. And then say, over the next month, I'm releasing a book. So I would really love to have this conversation, but can we push it out until 2 months from now or something like that? And that's acceptable. I don't like ghosting people, but other people do it quite innocently where they won't think twice about ignoring you, even though it's not personal. So I would never assume the worst. I would just leave them alone and then figure out down the road within 3 months how to just reach out casually. And don't make the same request again unless they show something back to you. So 3 months down the road, you could tag them on a post and say, hey, I thought of you because I remember this is your specialty. Hope all is well. And send them a link to it or just tag them in the post. Stuff like that. And of course, if you bump into them in the future at another conference, then that will solidify the relationship even further. So following up is super important. If you did all the networking in the world, it wouldn't pay off unless you did a good follow-up. If you have any questions about how, when, situational questions, how to properly follow up, then please DM me again and I'd love to help you with your networking. Have a great day and stay tuned tomorrow for my final tip.